This Abu Dhabi betting picks edition of the F1 Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today. Get ready for speed.
You just wait, sunshine. You just wait.
Get ready for the passion.
To whom it may concern you.
Get ready for the raw emotion.
Sì, ragazzi! Grazie, grazie, grazie! Dai, forza Ferrari!
Get ready for the F1 Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb. It is that time we have reached, and I say this with all the tears in my eyes, but still a smile on my face. The last race of the Formula One season. We have reached Abu Dhabi, which again puts an end to this fantastic season of F1. I got to tell you, I know Max Verstappen hasn't stopped winning since he got behind the wheel, but there's still been so much to cheer for. There's been so much to root for. And I still think that we've had our fun watching these races, regardless of the ultimate and sometimes inevitable finish here in these races, Cody. So it is the F1 Gambling Podcast. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Cody, can you believe we reached the end?
We've made it. First full season of the F1 Gambling Podcast. We started last season, midway, 3/4 of the way through the season, but we've made it through a full season now. And yeah, sad it's coming to an end, obviously. We love the racing. We love betting on it. What a show we got this past weekend. We'll dive into that, but man, it was good. The good news, Rod, there's already 2024 futures up. You can bet on the championship. You can bet on the Constructors Championship. I won't spoil it. There is one team that's a little bit heavily favored. I don't know if you'd be able to guess or not, but
I'm thinking it's Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, damn, how'd you know?
I thinking out of the box here. That's
and
me.
There's also Bahrain testing. The car to set the fastest lap. You can bet on the team. So you're already getting props up for this next season. So that gives us some stuff to talk about this offseason. I guess I don't know if we're doing off-season shows, but I think we probably will.
I think we should do at least one or two.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll throw a couple out there, right?
Yeah, I feel like we should keep it going.
Yeah, so that is the good news. We've at least got stuff to keep talking about, and we've got one more race this weekend to talk about, of course, as they head to Abu Dhabi to finish off the season. But how about that Vegas race, Rod?
And it's funny because obviously we talked about it the episode leading up to the race itself. But I mean, on social media and even in the NASCAR gambling podcast here and there, a lot of my friends that are in Vegas right now and they live in Vegas, they weren't very thrilled with the way the whole thing was taking up the strip. And I mean, it was just a giant inconvenience for them. And then, you get to practice and you get to P2, P1, P1, and you're just like, oh, maybe this was a gigantic hassle for almost no reason, because you got the P1 getting cut short because of, who was it, Sainz, right? It was Sainz that crashed out of the first practice. I mean, most of the people didn't even get to put a lap down, and here we are. And then, of course, P2 gets delayed, and now you're like, oh my God.
Kick all the fans out, and it's like, oh boy, like this. And I heard Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi talking about how this was like so NASCAR Chicago race vibes. Like it was the same exact thing. Like all the hype leading up to it, like, oh, this is going to be so great. And there was a lot of detractors going into it. I mean, Verstappen was very public about how he didn't like any of it and he wasn't happy. And you got the two facets of, wow, this is going to be so cool and it's a great setting and it's, and all this. And then the people of, oh, this is stupid and how is this going to work? How are you going to pull it off? And then it starts off kind of as a shit show. And you've got the FP1 incident, and Sainz gets a penalty when should he have probably maybe not gotten a penalty because it was kind of the F1's fault. And then they delay FP2 and they kick the fans out, and they basically say, fuck you, we're not going to refund. We're not going to give you, like, here's a voucher for the a hat. Okay, thanks. Which was all interesting. But yeah, it started off as kind of a shit show. And then it ends up being like just this great event. And holy shit, the racing we got on Saturday evening / Sunday morning, whatever it was, like this was one I was glad I stayed up to watch it. And it delivered from lights out all the way, and literally until, unfortunately, till the last lap. There was action and stuff that was affecting our bets, unfortunately, at the end there. But it ended up, starting off a little rocky, like you said, and it was like, oh boy, what have we got ourselves into? And then by the end of it, it's like, all right, let's glad we're coming back for another 10 years because this was pretty fun.
I didn't look into the precedent that was set because I agree with you in that I don't think Sainz should have been penalized on that one. I mean, how freak accident of it, for that to just pop up and hit him. Right. It's like a water valve malfunction, a water casing malfunction. Like, yeah. I know they said it had happened before, but did they? I don't.
Right, and I don't know. Again, we're still newer to F1, and I can't recall of recently an episode like that. And I get both sides of it, right? Sometimes there's things that are out of your control, and if a guy drops a piece of debris and it causes a puncture, like, oh, that wasn't your fault. No, but in this case, with it being part of the track, but then again, it's it's just the luck of racing, and sometimes that's how things go. So you can make the case either way. I think there should be, like in NASCAR, again, as NASCAR guys, there's that special circumstances rule. That's every rule in NASCAR's rule book says except under special circumstances. So at any point they can invoke special circumstances. And I feel like that's probably a place where you invoke, hey, we kind of fucked up here. But as we know, the FIA doesn't really like to take the blame, because then it leads to the whole, not letting fans in and just not refunding and saying fuck you, which was a whole nother thing. But I don't know. I think it's kind of shitty to penalize them when it's just something happened on the circuit. It's especially a brand new circuit. But in NASCAR, we've literally seen tracks fall apart too, and chunks of concrete come up and go through a car, and well, too fucking bad. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the military, there's that clause, the commander's discretion clause, right? Where anything can be overturned with the commander's signature. I feel like that's a rule that needs to be invoked somewhere in that as well. But you're right. I mean, you get in that whole red tape area of, okay, but we told this guy this one time, and then this happened, and if this happens now, and all of a sudden you create a way for that to happen again, not to say that you ever could, but whatever. I see
the slippery slope argument, right?
The slippery slope.
Oh, well, you called that one Xfinity race short now, so are you just going to start doing it all the time? And it's like, no, because this really was a special circumstance, and that's why, right? But yeah, again, it can be the slippery slope. So who knows? That's what they decided, and as we saw in the race, the stewards aren't always the best at handing out the appropriate penalties. So who knows?
No, they're not. And definitely we could have that argument all day. But I want to talk about the race itself. I want to talk about that. But first, I want to tell you about Bet365 because we're brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is the world's favorite sportsbook, trusted by over 88 million players worldwide. You get props, sides, not the Thanksgiving sides. You know what sides we're talking. Totals, live bets. Bet365 has you covered. And if you like boosts, you're going to love Bet365, like a 30% profit boost on your NFL same-game parlays. Plus, they even have an early payout offer. If your team goes up 17 points, sign up today. Choose from 2 bonus offers, either a $1,000 no-sweat bet or bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365, or use the sign-up link in our show bio. Hang tight, because the bets that I'm about to give you for this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix are from Bet365. So I'll give you all my favorite bets after this. Problem gambling? Call 800 Gambler. Right, Cody? Well, 50 laps of that Las Vegas Grand Prix, but the same result we've seen 17 other times before that. Max Verstappen wins the race. And look, for as much as he complained, for as much as he whined, for as much as he was even saying at the end too, that he was whining some more. I've never seen a guy, well, maybe I have, whine so much as he's winning as Max Verstappen. But he crosses the finish line, wins the race, takes home Las Vegas, takes home a street circuit course. But yeah, that headline's the same. But the race was a lot better, I think, than what the headlines read, because obviously 3 leaders in that race between Leclerc on the pole, Verstappen later on, and then, of course, Sergio Perez doing his thing, too, in the middle of that. But up and down, though, there was a lot of good strategy being played out, a lot of movers, a lot of shakers, not a lot of chaos as we expected, but there was enough of it to keep it interesting as well.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, Max won again and all that, but boy, he had to earn it. I mean, he faced adversity. He had issues. He had not bad strategy, but like bad timing as far as strategy that worked out for some other people. He went through the whole gamut of everything, fought and clawed his way back up there, and still finds a way to win the race. Again, the talent that this guy has, sure, it's one of the fastest cars out there, and well, it is the fastest car out there every week, but look at what he was able to do despite everything going against him. Whereas when one thing doesn't go for his teammate, he sucks. So there's that. But maybe we'll get into that. But little bitter at Checo right now, because god damn it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, just so impressive what Max was able to do, and he put on a hell of a show, right? And made for a good race. And again, let's just give him a grid penalty every race and see what he can do just to liven it up, make it a little more exciting, right? Once you've clinched the constructors title, and if you clinch both of them, which Red Bull has, Max obviously has weeks ago, you just have to start at the back every week and give everyone else a fair shot at things and watch Max just run his way all the way through the grid. I think that should be the new rule we implement going forward. But no, he did a great job. And again, the action throughout the race, I mean, across the whole grid, there was battles throughout the day. There was strategy. There was timing on things. There was making pits. There was not making pits. All sorts of stuff that went into it, and just really provided for a thrilling race down on the Vegas Strip there.
Well, and then when you add in the drama of even turn 1, right, where it literally just everybody was getting together, there was wings being lost. Obviously, Verstappen was challenged on that lap as well. So, I mean, there was only a little bit of beating and banging in the beginning of that race that made obviously our days a little bit more difficult, and I'm sure a lot of the drivers a little more difficult. But like you said, this is one of the first times that we haven't seen Max Verstappen just pull out to this 30 some odd second lead where he could take a pit and literally not lose any spots. This time he actually lost a spot in the pits. I had to fight his way back up from, what was it, 6th or 7th after the stop. I mean, he had to claw his way back up. He hard tires versus mediums. It was, again, if you are listening to this, you already know. We don't have to beat you over the head as far as, how these F1 races play out, even though the result may be the same. There's still a lot that goes into it. And then, of course, as we've done, we've given you reasons to look up and down the grid in that. Are we going to recap the bets? Are we going to go over the bets?
Let's go through the bets real quick.
Right, let's do that.
We started off with Checo. Both of us were on him. We just kind of rode the ladder. Took him to qualify in the pole. That was stupid. 18-1, but dude, he's not a good qualifier. Like I don't know. He keeps getting out early in qualifying and puts himself behind the 8 ball. That's kind of why I thought the rest of our bets were screwed early on, but came to find out they weren't so much. I took him at the podium finish plus 162. That one did cash. You had him at the top 2 plus 500. Rod, if the race was 1 lap shorter, that would have cashed as well.
Okay, so I'm going to blame Verstappen on that one. I'm going to blame him for not. Everybody knew he was going to win the damn race, and even if he would have backed up to give Checo a little bit more slipstream, it was not going to give Leclerc an opportunity to pass Verstappen. Nobody was passing Verstappen, but he did not back it up.
You can't really blame him too much. I mean, how hard is it to
Oh no, Cody!
You-
I just
you
want to
don't
blame
wanna
him.
back
I just want to
off when
blame him.
you're
I don't even
done.
care.
I got it. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm
Your
just saying.
rationality be damned. Like
Ugh,
I'm
yeah, I mean,
just a little bit
it's
pissed
hard to ask a guy to, hey, back off the lead a little bit, just to, and then something happens, and then it's his fault. But yeah, I mean, Checo, that's the second race in a row where he got passed on the last lap and cost betters, and man, we put all this faith into him going into Mexico. He starts well in that race, like okay, first turn just gets destroyed, race is over, all the bets are gone. Then in this one, he starts bad, and you're like, yeah, kind of just burn those slips. Like, damn, that's too bad. Then the strategy falls perfectly. He gets the damage on the first lap, goes in and pits, gets the tire changes. Then you have the safety car that works out perfectly. Ferrari fucks up again and doesn't take the tires, and you're like, here you go. And then Max is Max and gets him, but you're just like, okay, that's all right. We had him to win, and that sucks, because we'll throw it out there. Had him to win as well at 20-1, had him the fastest lap to 10-1, had him the fastest lap and win at 200-1. Again, rode Perez hard on this one, but at least he's going to hold on to second. You're going to cash the podium. You're going to cash the second place. And then on the last lap, you knew it was coming, and there it was. And man.
I was hoping he could hold him off. I thought, because it wasn't as easy to pass as it looked.
Had the older tires, so it looked like, okay. I mean, going in that last lap, it was like, here we go. He's gonna have a chance, but hopefully Checo can hold him off, and then he just doesn't, and it's like, oh, brother, you're killing me.
Killed a 5-1 in the end too, so not very thrilled about that one.
Let's see.
Thrilled about this next one either. Be honest with you.
Yes. I had Pierre Gasly, points finish, plus 150. Easy peasy. This was cashing the entire day. Was it 2 laps to go? Is that when he got passed? Yeah. Whatever it was very late, and just absolutely disgusting. Gasly gets passed by Piastri. Piastri I think he had to come pit late. He boxed late because he hadn't pitted earlier. Like, they ran it super long. He pits. He ends up stealing the fastest lap. Takes Gasly's points finish, plus 150. But this is one that should have cashed. I mean, Gasly started 5th place. Albon started right there with him. I mean, these guys were all up there, and just should have had it. It was very unfortunate, but his teammate Ocon ends up being the one that ends up in 4th place, getting the points finish, but not to be for Mr. Gasly. I also had Kevin Magnussen, plus 600. This one looked really nice because Magnussen starts up in 9th place, avoids kind of the chaos right there in the first lap. And then where the strategy early helped out our guy in Checo, it hurt Magnussen, put him behind the 8 ball, and just never really recovered from there. So that was unfortunate. I did parlay them together as well, plus 1510. This would have had a shot. I think if we didn't have that early incident in the strategy and then the safety car, I think this really might have had a chance for both of these to cash and to hit the parlay. But I was willing to give that up for Checo to ride it there and get the win. And of course, he doesn't do that either. So got screwed in both ways. Speaking of getting screwed, Rod.
That was the last leg of the Leclerc, Alonso, and Gasly little pyramid that I had going on at plus 275. All I needed was all 3 of those guys to finish in the points. 2 of them did. 1 of them almost did, but unfortunately 11th place finish. And what sucks is that you watched freaking Piastri just, it was like a 7 seconds out. Then all of a sudden the next lap, it was 5 seconds. And then it was 2.
He's a sitting duck because the fresher tires that Piastri had, and you knew he was coming, and it was just like, hopefully he can't quite get there in time, or hopefully he gets there and just can't get around him. Gasly makes it difficult, and then I think Gasly didn't even try. Like, he just kind of pulled over and just let him go, and you're like, God damn it.
There was no fight. He knew it. He knew the tires were better. He knew everything was good. So he was just like, well,
yeah,
I'm gone. Ole.
Unfortunately, that one was out the window as well. We played the underclassified finishers, a little departure from what we've done most of the season. Went under 16.5 plus 110, under 15.5 plus 275. It was the opposite. Lando, the only driver not classified in this race. You end up with 3 DNFs by the end of the day, but both Hülkenberg and Tsunoda were both classified. Just on the wrong side of this again. Everything being brand new. You kind of saw in some of the practices. I mean, these guys weren't super comfortable. And Max was talking about how tough it was going to be and everything. You get the turn one incident. There's cars spinning everywhere. People are flying all over the place. And you're like, I thought for sure maybe one or two guys was going to be out already. And I'm like, all right, we're well on the way to catch this. And then, of course, nobody was out from that incident. Lando ends up sending into the barrier later on, which just a weird-looking crash, too, where he flipped it around and backed into it and spun out and whatever. But taken to the hospital and evaluated. I believe he's okay. I have not seen any bad news on that. I think he's planning on racing this weekend, so that's good news. But unfortunately, just on the wrong side of the classified thing here. Trying to play that strategy of the new circuit of things being tricky and just didn't pay off.
Well, and with Lando going out, it also took away my entire winner's box. Lando did not win. Lando did not set the fastest lap, nor did he set the fastest lap and win. So I'll just knock that one out of the way since we were talking about Lando Norris. And that one kind of killed this next bet as well. And I had two race leaders in this at plus 275.
Which, if it wasn't for Lando, would have.
Yeah, because I feel like it would have just been
that gave us the false hope on Perez.
There was a lot.
Just everything played against itself to go against our bets this weekend. But on so many of these, like we had the right idea. The Checo call, a little bit of luck involved, right? Because he gets the strategy, but then he's up there and you're like, okay, he's got this opportunity now and things have fallen into his lap and he's the street course king. Like once you put him up there, you can do it, right? No, apparently. But the Gasly points thing, like he was there. The Magnussen points thing, that was going to hit if it would have been for all the strategy stuff. You would have hit your parlay on these guys in the points. Like, the races like this are so tough because you know you were correct and you did what the research showed, what you should have done, and things just didn't quite play out even though they had the chance and they looked like they were the right thing. That's when it really hurts to lose a bet because if you just place a bet and you know Perez doesn't qualify well and he just runs 10th all day, you're like, yeah, whatever. Shit happens. But you get all this hope. It's like watching the Cornhuskers play football. You get all this hope early in the game. They go up 14-0 on Wisconsin. Here they go. We finally got a quarterback, Brock Purdy's little brother. He looks like he can play good. And then we just shit the bed and lose again. And that's how I felt about betting on F1.
Like I said, I think I did say something though about the maybe take 3 if you want, but I still was convinced it was 2. I just frustrated on that one and all.
Yeah,
so.
just unfortunate. But
all right,
let's put that in the rear view, Rod, and move on to
we send that to the back of the field as we turn our attention to Abu Dhabi. But before we do Abu Dhabi, let me tell you first about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football, F1. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite player or driver's fantasy stats and cash in. We'll give you an Underdog Fantasy play. Maybe we'll tweet those out later on for you as well. So keep an eye out on that. So watch along, make your picks, maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. You can enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets' revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rates for any bet to learn which players are hot, which picks have value. So stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. Well, Cody, last circuit on the circuit. It is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We are in for 58 laps around this 5.281, so just over 3 mile track for a race distance of 306.183 kilometers. The track record, the lap record, is set by, stop me if you heard this one before, Max Verstappen in 2021, 1 minute, 26 seconds, 0.103. This looks like a science fiction laser gun. That's what I think it is. It's one of those one that you see in like old Star Trek episodes. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I was staring at this before we started, trying to figure out what it looks like because I have no idea. So yeah, Star Trek laser gun. Boom.
Like Star Wars phaser gun is what I'm looking at.
There you go.
Star Wars, not Star Trek. What are you making? all of the
How
nerds,
could you not? Oh, geez, all the nerds listening, just their heads exploded.
they're like, listen, I count myself as one of them. So the fact that you made me trip up just made me lose cool points. Sorry, guys.
You did have quite the nerd joke before we got on the air tonight. So
oh, I did, didn't I?
You did. My daughter had her appendix taken out this week.
Which, by the way, thoughts out to your daughter. I know she's a trooper. She made it through.
Lots of love on Twitter for her, so appreciate that. She's doing well. But yes, Rod had an appendix joke about what was the joke, Rod?
I said, but how can I find reference points to the facts that I need if she doesn't have an appendix?
There you go. Rod will be here all weekend for your nerd jokes if you need more.
I love it. A first Grand Prix here was in 2009. It now ends the season. It is the Yas Marina circuit. There are 16 corners on this one and 2 DRS zones, one between turn 4 and 5, another between 7 and 8, which I don't even think you can count turn 7 and 8 as really a turn. There's literally like
it's like a
slight bend in the road,
2-degree curvature, and they're calling it a turn.
Yeah, well, that's the same with 4 and 5. I mean, the big long straightaway between turns 5 and 6, which is the speed trap. So no DRS zone in that area, however, which you just going to try to pass on sheer speed. So again, there's brief amounts of DRS, but it doesn't matter because Max Verstappen has been the one to win this race for the last couple of years. So
all right, so yeah, Max Verstappen minus 400. Have a great day. We'll see you next season.
So I wrote an article for Sportsbook Review for the first time in a long time for F1, right? And we were calling the shots, and I think Verstappen was at minus 230 to win, and obviously we only put winners on that article. So I put minus 230 for Max Verstappen. I said, believe it or not, this is actually a pretty generous number. So if you think you're going to
kicking myself so hard because before the race, I want to say it was Saturday morning, maybe I looked and he had dropped all the way down. I said in the Discord, I don't remember, but it was below minus 200.
Ooh.
And I strongly considered is this when you just pounce on it? And then I was like, but he's not looked that great all weekend. He's had a lot of comments about it. And then we get in race, and his odds even, I think, live dropped to plus. He was plus money at one point. But it was he's not going to win this race. And so I'm like, okay, dodged a bullet there. I would have felt real stupid laying, minus 150 or minus one. I think it was like minus 180 or minus 190, something like that. I'm like, I would have felt real stupid. And then he comes back and wins. I'm like, God, I missed a chance to have him at the great value of minus 190. And it's like, but hey, that would have been great value. So, damn it. Oh, well.
But at what point? I mean, we've watched enough to know that even at 180, it's you want to hammer it, but at the same time, it's no, there could still be.
There's enough of, but what if he doesn't? Because it's not, again, he can be beaten, and again, it's not all. He's not always going to win because obviously, if he just it was guaranteed he's going to win every time, then sure, you know. And if you bet him every race this season, I suppose long term it has probably worked out for you, but it's not going to be the case most of the time. So again, that's why they set the numbers like they do, but oh well, it is what it is.
Well, and again, there's a lot of technical aspects to this race. Obviously, this course offers a lot of twists and turns around the back end of it. So these guys are going to be super busy, a lot more busy than they were last week in Las Vegas, where again, man, watching these guys just fly down the strip was a sight to be seen. I know, again, like I said, my friends in Las Vegas were kind of complaining about it, but visually I wanted to go. I was so mad that I wasn't there.
Yeah, it definitely looked like a great time. At least they're going to be back for a few years. So maybe we'll have to find a way to work that into the plans in the next few seasons for sure.
I concur. All right. Well, then let us go ahead and start setting up some bets for this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to end the F1 season. Cody, where are we beginning?
Let's do it. I'm going to start with Yuki Tsunoda. Going to take him to finish in the points plus 250. Roddy's got 2 starts here. finished 11th place last season, but in his rookie campaign, 4th place in 2021. And here you go back over the last 6 races. In half of them, he has finished in the points, and he's on quite the streak. If you're into streaks here, he finished 10th, then he was 15th, then he was 8th, then he was 9th. Or let me start that over here. 10th, 15th, 8th, 12th, 9th, 18th. So it was points, no points, points, no points, points, no points. That means he's due for points this weekend. Rod, he does have 8 finishes inside the top 11 this year. A lot of 11th place finishes. Again, that's why I upped it to 11th place. But that means he's right there competing for these points finishes. This seems to be a circuit that he really likes. 2 times here. He's been in the points once, very well, almost on the podium. And then 11th place just outside the points last year. So I think Yuki Tsunoda will get it done this weekend, plus 250 to finish in the points.
I wonder what he would do in an Aston Martin, in a McLaren. I wonder if his talent is better than the equipment that he's in, or kind of equal to. I mean, I'm curious because I want to know. He seems to be one of those guys that's on the fringe.
I still don't know enough about Red Bull to understand how enough about F1 to understand how Red Bull owns both of these teams, right? Because they own AlphaTauri as well. Why is AlphaTauri so far behind Red Bull? It makes no sense to me, Rod. I don't fully understand how that works. And I don't understand if it's like a Penske Wood Brothers type of thing where sure it's the same team, but it's not really the same team. But I don't get it. Why they should be better.
I think that's it. I think it's exactly it.
Is that it? I mean, and I don't know. It's something I want to learn a little bit more about, is why there's such a difference when, yes, they're different teams, but they're both Red Bull teams, right? So why? Yeah, I don't know. I don't fully understand that. If somebody knows, go reach out to me. I'd like to learn more about that. We love betting on F1 and we're pretty good at it, but we're still newer to F1 and learning all the intricacies. So that does interest me though, and I do think, I mean, he seems to be very talented. What he's been able to do, you look at what De Vries was doing in that car, not good. You put Ricciardo in and he's looked good. You put Lawson in, he's looked good. So it's like if you have good drivers in these cars, they're seeming to pretty well in them. What could they do if they were in a better ride? I would be interested to see for Yuki, but I do think he's going to finish the season strong here and grab that points finish.
I love it as well. All right, so I'm going a little bit out of the box, and I'm going to go ahead and take Valtteri Bottas as a points finisher in this one. I know his Alfa Romeo has not been the greatest this season. The guy's only finished inside the points a total of 4 times in the entire season. But his average finishing position is 13.7 this season, which means he's been there. He's been close. He's been around. He's got some 12th place finishes, some 11th place finishes. I won't bore you with all of them, but suffice it to say, there's enough of them in there that give me hope that he can return to form on this track. Now, as a Mercedes driver, I'm going to preface that by saying as a Mercedes driver, he won this race in 2017, finished 5th in 2018, 4th in 2019, 2nd in 2020, and 6th in 2021. Okay, now, as an Alfa Romeo driver, he finished 15th down a lap last season. I get it. I understand. But this is the last race of the season. I want to think that maybe Valtteri Bottas, because he was pissed. He was pissed last week. He was not very thrilled at all with how a lot of stuff had gone down, just kind of ruining his race. He started in 7th place, started 7th on the grid. Well, 8th on the grid, right? But 7th after the penalty, and finished 17th. So not a good day for him overall, but he had speed in Las Vegas. He actually was quite fast in on that track. So maybe on a track that he knows and that he's been successful on, maybe he channels that anger and turns it into at least a 10th place finish. So I'd like to think that maybe his veteran experience coupled with Hulk-like anger can get him into the top 10. And at plus 225, I'll take that. And it'll be good for Alfa Romeo to finish the season strong.
Yeah, I think you built a pretty good solid case. Not a guy we look at betting on a lot. So nice to find a way to get in on him. Next up for me, Rod, I'm going to go over to Charles Leclerc. Podium finish plus 175 over on Bet365. Look, I think it's hard to trust Ferrari at points, right? And even kind of saw a glimpse of it last week. Like, should he have pitted for tires at Vegas there under the safety car when they had the chance? And it still worked out pretty good for him, right? He was right there at the end and he finishes in second place. But would he have had more for Checo earlier? And if he could have gotten around Checo, does Max not catch him? Maybe if he's got the tires. Max probably does because he's Max, right? But maybe they did screw it up. Who knows exactly how that would have worked out? But I do think Leclerc finished second here last season, so a nice solid run last year. He did have a third place finish on the podium as well in 2019. But if you go back over the last 9 races, been a couple of doozies in there, but 7 of the last 9 he's been inside the top 5. He's got 3 podiums in those 7 races. So things have been doing pretty good here for Charles Leclerc lately. Kind of riding a little bit of momentum, riding some good finishes here lately. Coming off of a great run last week in Las Vegas. I think he's going to finish out the season. And you know, when you look at the podium odds, and you know, obviously Max is going to take up one of those podium spots. You have to account for that. But I really wanted to get out of Lando this week. I'm like, all right, he's coming off of a bad race. And he's been good here in the past. And the books obviously looked at that too because his numbers juiced way up. And so kind of looking at the podium odds, I think that Shaw gives you that golden spot where he's got a really good opportunity. And I think he can get it done. And he's still at a good price at almost 2-1 at plus 175. So give me Charles Leclerc, podium finish, plus 175.
I actually like Ferrari this weekend, so you'll figure out more of what I like about them later on in the episode. But I agree with you on this one. I do believe that they've found something. They found whatever it was that they were kind of looking for to get them limping across the line here, as it were.
As long as they stay out of their own way, that is the biggest thing with them. Like, they show up most weeks with fast cars, they've got good drivers, all of it. They just have to stay out of their own way, and as long as they don't fuck it up, it ends up being pretty good for them usually. So that's why I'm liking this one.
Yep, I'd like to think that at the end of the day, that is exactly what will happen. So speaking of exactly what will happen, let's put Daniel Ricciardo in the points. Let's put him as a 10th place finisher or better. Plus 225 over there on Bet365 for this bet. Daniel Ricciardo last season finished 9th place in his McLaren, 12th in 2021, 7th in his Renault F1 car in 2020, 11th in 2019, 4th in an Aston Martin, and then 5th, 6th, 4th in these Red Bulls rather. So Daniel Ricciardo's finished inside the points in a lot of these races here on this track. In fact, his average finish on this track in the many cars that he's driven, 10.4. So it means that no matter what you put him in, he's going to probably find his way into the top 10. Been a little bit rough for Ricciardo this season as far as trying to find his way into the points. We know he's been running in the points. We know that he's at certain points been inside of the top 10 in most of these races. But unfortunately, the finishes aren't there. The only time he did finish inside the points this year was in Mexico, where he started 4th, finished 7th. Outside of that, his average finish is 13th place. So I think this week I'm taking a couple of these fringe guys, these fringe just outside of the top 10s, and hoping that they lean on their veteran experience to get them inside of the points. And they're both obviously talented race car drivers, right? We know that Daniel Ricciardo is. We know that Valtteri Bottas is. It's just both of these guys have to find and dig in to try to end the season with at least a 10th place finish. And you know, it's funny because as we start to look, and we were talking a lot about it too a couple of weeks ago, how hard it is to find somebody other than Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes to put inside of the top 10, because you've got McLaren, you've got, but then it's that difficult to do the top 10, right? Because you've got Red Bull, you've got Ferrari, you've got Mercedes, you've got Aston Martin, you've got McLaren. That's 8 drivers right there. Wait,
that's 10.
That's 10 drivers right there. So then you've got to unseat one of those top drivers in order to get there. So that's been difficult.
Yeah, having a big 5, I guess, if you want to say, or a big 1 plus 4, you could more call it. But yeah, it does fill the points out, right? And so you do have to unseat it. I think if we're both going to be on AlphaTauri, guys, to finish in the points, long shots, of course, but let's add the double points finish at 9-1. And then just because it's a long number, it's the last race of the season, and we want to hit a long shot, double top 6, 100-1. I know, understand how crazy that sounds, but little pizza bet, right? You just put a little sprinkle on it. Why not, Rod? If we think they can get in the points, maybe something happens, you get some failures, you get some type of incident in turn 1, it takes out a couple contenders, whatever the deal might be, I'm feeling frisky. So fuck it. Let's do it.
Who would have thought that we'd be ending the season with a double six bet for AlphaTauri? Let's go.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. We appreciate it. Not all of our bets are always like this, but hey, it's the last bet of the season, last time of the season. Let's have a little fun with it. Next up for me, I am going to go back to our favorite bets that we seem to place a lot. Going to look at Esteban Ocon, top 6 finish. I'm also going to take Pierre Gasly, top 6 finish. Each guy is 10-1. I had looked at both of these guys, and you know how much we love our Alpines. We know how well they've done on these points bets this season. Both these guys are plus 100 to finish in the points. I don't hate taking that as well, but the top 6 numbers, what's really the sexy ones for me. So you go back to Ocon, last year in 7th place, one outside the top 6, 9th place in 2021. He's coming off of a strong 4th place finish at Las Vegas. He's got points in 3 races in a row, 6 of the last 7 races. Things have been going pretty well for Esteban Ocon. For Gasly, he was 14th in this race last year, but he did have a 6th place finish here in 2021. Again, a little bit of track history. He's got it done here. He's been top 7 in 2 of the last 4 races. And he's got 5 top 7 finishes overall this season. So we love going with these Alpine guys. Love finding ways to get him in the points, to get him in the top 6. And I kind of looked around and I was like, double points maybe, or just take him to the top 10s for the points finishes. I like the top 6. You're getting each one at 10-1. I think you take a unit, you put half a unit on each of these guys. I think one of them ends up finding their way into the top 6. Maybe you get lucky and it's both. But at least I think one of them gets in there at 10-1 apiece. I think that it's good to go ahead and bet on both of them.
And that's the thing. I would not lump these guys in a category again. I don't think I did it last time, but one's good, one's not. It just feels like that's the way it is. You're muted, Cody. You muted yourself.
There we go. Sorry, first time. We do seem I've had this cough, Rod, for like 3 weeks. I can't get rid of, and so I keep muting myself to cough. So sorry about that. But
oh, you're good.
Yeah, like we do seem to get burned a lot when we go double on them. And it's like one guy's top 6 and the other guy's like 12th or 11th, and it's like right outside. And so it's like that's why I think that's another reason I came to this conclusion of just bet them each separately to do the same thing. Because one of them seems to end up finding their way up there. If the other one's not, you're at least going to hit one of them. So I think that's the proper way to play it. And at 10-1, getting really solid numbers on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, even if you were to throw however much you put on there, you'd win it back and then some on one of them to hit. So I like that. Yeah, take them separately. Don't take them together. The ones you can take together, though, we talked about having the big 5, right? We talked about Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. And now you throw Ferrari, of course, and then Aston Martin has become one of those. So I found that I liked their number for both of them being the points because it was actually plus money, and it's a plus 162. Now, the only issue with this, obviously, is that it's almost a little bit like Alpine, where, you know, Fernando Alonso does well, Lance Stroll doesn't. If Stroll does well, Fernando doesn't. Well, last week, both of them finished inside the points. This was a nail biter for Alonso's part of it. I mean, Alonso started 9th, finished 9th, but there was points in that race where he was outside of the points and he had to fight his way back in. So good on Alonso to find his way back in. Stroll, almost never a problem. Started 19th. He was the one that you were probably thinking, well, damn, this is going to make me lose this bet.
What did he get? Like 8 spots in that turn 1? Just the chaos of everyone spinning out and like, poop, poop, poop. There goes Stroll. He finds his way like, oh shit, he's in the points already.
and not only that, but like after the virtual safety car and then the safety car, like, yeah, he was on the move. Yeah, so
he performed really well last weekend.
That's probably I don't know, and I haven't looked it up, but I would say that might be the most we've seen a driver improve in a race from 19th to 5th. I mean, second to last on the grid, all the way up to 5th place. That was a hell of a run.
That's
for Lance Stroll.
Not something you see a ton in F1. So imagine what Max could do from 19th, but
we could see that every week if we wanted to. But for Lance Stroll, he does have 2 points finishes on this one actually last year in the Aston Martin, where he finished in 8th place. As far as points finishes on the season, Stroll, like I said, it's been kind of one of those hit or miss type of things. His average finish is just outside of the points at 11.2, but he's got 3 points finishes in the last 4 races. 7th at Austin, 5th over there at Interlagos, and then 5th in Las Vegas. The only one that kind of ruined it was the 17th place at Mexico City. So he's been on a roll lately as far as points finishes are concerned. I say he continues that role. What can we say about Fernando Alonso that hasn't already been said? Average finish this season, 6.6 place. 9th place at Las Vegas last week, 3rd place at Interlagos the week before. A couple of bad weeks where he finished 18th at Mexico, 16th at Austin, but 6th at Losail, 8th at Suzuka, 9th at Monza, 2nd at the Dutch Grand Prix. So, and then that string of just straight points finishes between the first race of the season in Bahrain all the way until Monza, where he was a points finisher in each of those races. So again, he's really only finished outside of the points 3 times this season. He's going to do it again this week. I think Lance Stroll will do it again this week as well. But yeah, I mean, for Alonso on this circuit, he's got an average finish of 9.5. Unfortunately, last year in his Alpine, he finished in 20th, but he had a problem issue. He did start 10th, probably would have finished 10th at that point. 8th the year before that in his Alpine, 11th in the McLaren machine, 9th in McLaren, 10th in McLaren. So Alonso can get it done here. He just needs to get it done again. Double points finish, plus 162. Really good number for this on our friends at Bet365.
Yeah, I think it's a great number. I think you laid out the case perfectly. Very impressed with what I saw from Stroll last week. I think he'll carry that momentum. We know what Fernando can do, so no argument from me here.
Beautiful. All right, where are we going next?
Next up, Rod, got to find a way to work Max Verstappen in here. So just bet him minus 400. No, I'm just kidding. Don't bet him minus 400 to win. But I'm going to take him. You get him fastest lap and win the race. Very simple. 2 things there. Plus 125. Look, he's Max Verstappen. Obviously, even if you don't know about F1, you probably know what Max Verstappen has done this season. 18 wins he's gotten on the season, Rod. It's been insane. He's won 3 in a row here. 2nd place to Lewis before that. He's been good. He's been lights out. I think that's going to be the case. I think this is one of those old-fashioned ass-whooping races. He's going to probably start on the pole. I mean, if you want to, I should have looked and saw what he is to win the pole also. I can look that up as I'm talking here, but I think that you just kind of go all in on Max this week, and I think he just kind of is going to sweep everything. I think he's plus 200 to get the fastest qualifier as well. I don't really feel like you're getting that much more for him to have to do a whole qualifying too, but again, I think this is just going to be an ass whooping by Max, and he wins by 30 seconds to finish off the season. So plus money just to be the fastest lap and win the race. Now we've talked all season about how the fastest lap is kind of the key thing that, that's where you can make your money on instead of betting the winners. Fortunately, the books have caught on to that because the numbers are shit this week for anybody outside of the top few. But it's not always been Max, and even last week you didn't get it. I get it, but after everything he's done, I think this is the way to get in on him. Minus 400 is too much to lay for just a win. So take him to win, take him to get the fastest lap, or if you want to take him to the fastest qualifier and win, either way, I think it's fine. But find a way to get in on Max to win this without paying the ridiculous juice, because I think he just blows the field away. And then, I got to have a longest shot or a fastest lap long shot out there just because I can. Like I said, pretty nuked down up near the top. Didn't really like any of those. But Alonso, fastest lap 40-1. Again, you talked about he's kind of one of those big 5 team guys. He's fast. He can lay down fastest laps. And again, as random as sometimes it's been this season, there's not really been much of a rhyme or reason. He cashed, 45-1 earlier this season for us, 40-1. Let's do it to finish off the season. Give me Alonso fastest lap, just in case Max doesn't get it done.
Again, for Fernando, this is kind of a way for him to go out, kind of the way he came in, right? I mean, obviously we talked about how he's sort of had that bad, I say bad, but the not being on the podium there, which for him was a huge disappointment. So I would think that he's probably going to go to try and fly, especially after last week. I mean, obviously last week was kind of a disappointment for him as well. So I'm all for him putting on soft tires the last opportunity that he gets and to blaze out a fast lap on that one. As for Max, fastest lap and win, I'm still surprised that that's plus money. Honestly, we've seen these juiced so heavily in the past. So getting this at plus money, go ahead, take it, because it's probably going to happen anyways.
Yep.
All right, I'm going a different direction because Bet365 is giving us an opportunity to bet on who's going to finish second in the Constructors Championship. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit on Ferrari to finish in second right at the Constructors Championship. This one is minus 110. Currently, the Constructors Championship sits as follows. Red Bull, your constructors champion, at 822 points.
They have more than twice as many points as second place.
And almost the same as
Oh
second and
my
third
goodness.
combined. Second place comes Mercedes at 392. And then third place is Ferrari at 388. Just 4 points.
This will be the story of the weekend right here. This is, and I hope they kind of focus on this a lot, because this is going to be the biggest battle of this weekend. Is this second place in the constructors title?
And so here's how it breaks down. Okay, the constructors championship points are handed out exactly the same way as the drivers points. First place gets 25, second gets 18, third gets 15, fourth gets 12, fifth gets 10, sixth gets 8, seventh gets 6, eighth gets 4, ninth gets 2, and 10th gets a single point on this one. If we think that Charles Leclerc will find his way onto the podium, that is already 15 points for the Constructors' Championship. Now, that means that Hamilton and Russell would have to find their way. Here's the thing about it, too. Mercedes has actually not been as strong as a team over the last few races, right? We've seen both of those guys struggle. We've seen Hamilton struggle. We've seen Russell struggle on separate occasions. And we actually saw it a little bit in this weekend, whereas both of them finished 7th and 8th, which is a good, solid finish, right? That would get you 10 points in the constructors. But when you look at what happened as far as the race is concerned, Charles Leclerc, like we said, he got himself a second-place finish. And then Carlos Sainz even got himself a 6th-place finish, even after getting his struggle. So a 2nd place and a 6th place on this one would be 18th and 8. So that's 26 points. That's more than 10 by 16 points. If that sort of thing happens again this weekend, that means Ferrari's taking this home, because all you have to do is get Leclerc into, or even Sainz rather, into a podium position. That makes it to where one of the Mercedes has to get into the podium, which means they have to get better than the podium, pretty much would have to win to get this. So like Cody said, this is going to be what you're going to be watching all race long, is the position of the Ferraris versus the position of the Mercedes. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on that. But again, I really do think that both of the Ferraris have been, like you said, they get in their own way, but I still think as a team, they've been better overall than the Mercedes have as of late, because you just seen both of these guys have such issues, right? For Carlos Sainz, the last few races, 3rd, 4th, 6th, right? He won at Marina Bay. He got 6th at Suzuka, 3rd at Monza. He's actually been on a pretty decent tear right now, where you look at Lewis Hamilton. We talked about how much success he's actually had over the last few races, but even still, 2nd, 8th, 7th, right? But 19th at Losail, 19th at Austin, a couple of bad races for him there as well. And where I think the weaker link out of this is going to be, and that's George Russell, who we've seen really struggle with all sorts of mechanical issues, all sorts of craziness. 8th last week at Vegas, 15th at Interlagos, 6th at Mexico City, 5th at Austin, 4th at Losail, 7th at Suzuka, 16th at Marina Bay, 17th at the Dutch Grand Prix. Not necessarily top 4, top 5 finishes that you want to see out of this Mercedes team. And they need them. They need both of these guys to finish inside of the top 6 if they want to compete with Ferrari this weekend.
Yeah, I like it. And again, I think that Ferrari themselves is your biggest battle in this, right? As long as they don't screw it up, that's your biggest concern. And you look at how Bet365 has this priced, and Ferrari's minus 110, like you mentioned. Mercedes is also minus 110, even though they've got a 4-point. They're being spotted 4 points going into this. Tells you how the books feel like this should probably go. If Ferrari stays out of their own way, I think that the Ferrari side of this is going to be the way to go. So I do like taking this bet. And again, it's another fun way, different way to get in on the action, have a different outcome. Now you're rooting for them as a team over the Mercedes team. Gives you so much more going on in the race. That's what we love to do on this show. That's why I fucking love this shit. And yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand.
I'm so glad you found that, because it's such a fun way to get in on the action, and it's it's a future technically, but it's not it's future for this weekend. Like this is it. Like, yeah.
It's
And
gonna
so
happen this race or not.
yes, it's outstanding. And Bet365, shout out to them, doing a hell of a job, giving us all season long. Again, they're a sponsor now, and we love that and we appreciate it. But this has been the book we've been using most of the season because they have so many options. I mean, it is like being a kid in a candy store when you walk into the F1 betting room and there is just F1 bets lining the walls any different way you want to. That's what makes this so much fun. Shout out to them. And yeah, that is such a fun bet to get in on. And I really, really like your Ferrari angle, and I think that's the side to be on.
I listen, and this is the last show of the season, obviously, so we can get a little bit nostalgic. But I think back to how we started betting these and just how much we've matured as far as which bets we're looking at and which ones we are actually eyeballing. Because I mean, before I was like, oh, fun, fastest pit stop, and I mean that's all fun and games too. But I mean, the how much we've been able to dig into and give folks an opportunity to watch the entire field, right? I mean, because obviously, more often than not, you're not paying attention to Logan Sargent, but when I tell you that he's going to not finish this race, you're watching for Logan Sargent, which means you're probably watching 16th the place on down, right? You're paying attention to what's going on at the back end of that race. If I'm telling you a driver's not going to finish the race. So what we try to do in this show, and what we try to do in all of our shows, is not just give you the same thing everybody's giving you or the boring stuff that, anybody can look up. We try to dig in and give you a reason to watch the race, not just, over, under, or whatever. And we want you to pay attention to every part of what's going on, be it, pit strategies, pit stops, or fastest laps, or points finishes, or like, we say here, the Constructors Championship, because now, like Cody said, you're not just paying attention to Max Verstappen running away with the 14-second lead. Now you're like, all right, well, where's Leclerc? Where's Sainz? Where's Russell? Where's Lewis? Where are these guys at? Where's Bottas? Where's Ricardo? Where's Yuki? Like, that's what we want you to do all race long.
Oh, I love it. So much fun.
Me too. All right, well, get out your pen and paper. I will tell you what you're going to be paying attention to all race long. We've got Yuki Tsunoda as a points finisher that Cody started you out with at plus 250. And then we'll just tack on the Danny Rick points at 225 as well that I had thrown out. And then, of course, DGen's only double AlphaTauri points finish at 9-1 and a double AlphaTauri 6 finish at 100-1 because it is the last episode and what the hell, why not? And then Cody gave you a Leclerc podium at plus 175 at 365. I gave you Bottas as a points finisher at plus 225. Cody gave you Esteban Ocon as a top 6 finisher at 10-1. And of course, bet these separately. Pierre Gasly as a top 6. Don't put them together. Just don't. I know it's tempting. I'm sure the number's huge. Just resist that urge. Gasly top 6 at 10-1 as well. I'm taking Aston Martin as a double points finisher at plus 162. That one you can put together. And then Cody's giving you Max with the fastest lap and winning this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at plus 125. And Fernando Alonso to finish the fastest lap at 40-1. And I'm saying that Ferrari will end up eking its way past Mercedes for the second place in the Constructors Championship at minus 110. Tons of money to be awarded, though, in that second place. There's a couple $1 million difference in that. So everybody wants that second place. In fact, I'm looking right now. The prize money for the Constructors Championship is at where is it at? Never mind. I had it and now it's gone. It's a bunch of ads. So never mind.
Oh, damn ads.
That sucks. All right, never mind. I don't care. Who wins the prize?
It's a lot of fucking money. That's really what matters.
It really is too. We're talking like at least a couple $1 million between second and third place. So teams definitely need that to catch up to Red Bull this season.
And it means a lot, right? If you can, obviously nobody's anywhere close to, they're not even half of what Red Bull has, but if you can be the guy that finishes second, it's a nice way to go into the off season. Like, okay, hey, as you're recruiting people to come work for you, whatever the deal is, like we're second in the Constructors. Red Bull's had a couple of anomaly seasons and really dominated things. They can't be on the throne forever. Like we're going to chip away. It's a great motivator for your team. It's a great everything going into the off season. And then you toss in a couple of $1 million on top of it. Nobody really hates that. So I like it.
couple million pounds. Sorry. This
Same
is
difference.
whatever your currency of choice is in your region. That's what it is.
Yes.
Well, as we put a pin in the entire F1 season, I just want to first of all thank each and every one of you that has made this show the runaway success that it's been this season. I can't even tell you how amazing it's been to watch, especially those of you who have joined us via the NASCAR Gambling Podcast channel and stuck with it. I mean, obviously, we throw this out into the feed, hoping that you guys will want to listen, and you have. And the fact that all of you guys have responded the way you have, the bosses up there in the SGPN big desk, they see it. They've kept us on for another season. And again, it's just so much fun. You guys have made this show a joy to work on every single week. Obviously, watching the races with you guys in our Discord has been fun as well. So continue to keep that rolling. And as we close up shop this season, just know that we'll throw a few episodes out here and there as we get even bigger future bets. And maybe we'll throw one out next week, just going over the early bets as well and recapping this Abu Dhabi race so we don't completely fade out. But you guys, it's been a blast. We love you so much. Thank you for the continued support.
Yeah. Echo everything you said. Love it. Appreciate all the support. The Discords continue to grow in the F1 channel as well. That gets a lot busier, a lot more going on there. So love to see it. Love the crossover from the NASCAR people. So we got into this, right? We crossed over from NASCAR. Now here we are. And so, yeah, in off-season stuff, I think the bosses will let us keep rolling like they have with NASCAR. And I remember last offseason, there was a ton of future stuff to bet on. So we'll have plenty of stuff to cover. So I think you'll see us back through the season. But thanks for riding with us so far. Good luck this weekend. Let's go cash some more bets and make some money.
Indeed. Books, I want a will Max Verstappen win every race of the 2024 season, yes or no? I'll whatever the number, I may sprinkle a little on the yes. So
why not? I mean, at this point, why not, right? And I'm so interested to see because like last offseason, like they had Lewis Hamilton set at 5 was his over-under, which hopefully you hammered the under as we told you to, but I'm pumped to see what because how do you set win totals coming out of a season like this where he's going to have 19 wins after this weekend? Like, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to dig into it. Again, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We still have a race this weekend, but we'll be hanging around.
We'll be hanging around. We'll be hanging around social media too, Cody. So tell everyone where they can find you doing that as well.
Yes, follow me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my work over there. And follow the show as well at F1 Gambling Pod. Jump over if you're listening to the NASCAR feed. Jump over, hit subscribe on the F1 feed too. Helps us out. If you want to watch us on YouTube, go to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast channel. We've got the video posted there as well. You can see Rod's beautiful face. You can watch me cough every time Rod talks and I mute my mic.
That's what it's all about. In fact, if you want to play a fun drinking game and be drunk by the time you're halfway through the show, do that.
Take a sip every time you see me cough.
Yep, exactly. If you weren't paying attention before, go back and watch this video.
You got to rewind and count it. It's a lot.
It's okay. We'll let you do it. All right. Follow me on X, RJ Villagomez, link in the bio, everything I got going on. Obviously, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, giving out props for NFL for the rest of the season, and maybe some, WrestleMania and other stuff going on. There's some, I know that's a long way away, but whatever. They got stuff. They got me tasked at that point. So, all right. Enjoy Abu Dhabi. Enjoy the end of the F1 season. Sit back, relax, and hopefully you cash some tickets at the end of it. So, till then, let's go racing. Let it ride.